Welcome to Integration Nation for Allison Sullivan's Integrative Mental Health Team. I'm Dee Daniels, and it's the beginning. Let's learn to begin again.
We must begin again.
Yes.
Once upon a time.
Right?
In the beginning there was.
What a great time to be talking about beginnings.
Yes, absolutely. It goes with everything that everyone is thinking about right now. New year, new time, new stuff. Who am I? What do I want to do? How do I want to get there? And all of that is about beginnings. So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about it because, as many people know, New Year's is my favorite holiday because of the opportunity for renewal, possibility, hope, restoration, all of those good things that don't exclude anyone. Because holidays are great. A lot of holidays can exclude a group of people. Mm-hmm. New Year's includes everyone and offers hope and possibility to everyone. So in the spirit of that, I wanted to talk about people's relationship with beginnings, because beginnings can be awkward, beginnings can be vulnerable, beginnings can be uncomfortable. And when we really talk about the whys and hows of that, I think it can fuel people's ability to bring to fruition what they want, what is possible.
I think you're right. It brings up a lot of feelings, even talking about beginning something new, starting something new, or beginning again, or, you know, whatever the case may be. It really does bring up a lot of feelings, sometimes to the point where we want to turn away from a beginning.
We do, and I think there's many reasons. One that seems to come up as a regular theme in my practice is this mistaken notion that you get one chance. And if you don't reach the fullest potential, whatever arbitrary benchmark that is, on your one and only chance, then something's wrong with you, and another beginning is kind of like affirmation that something is wrong with you. And that's just a load of crap.
Yeah.
We are beginning constantly, whether we're aware of it or not. So I think to really get comfortable with our relationship with beginning, we have to start there. We have to start in exploring what stands in our way, what obstacles, what conflicts, what mixed messages do we have about beginnings? You know, what do we think about beginnings? I love them, but a lot of people I work with don't. And I think there's some other stuff that comes up based on adulthood and different stages in adulthood. Mm-hmm. I think there's this notion that it's okay for kids, it's okay for adolescents to be beginners, to be novices. It's okay for people new in their careers. But once you get to be middle-aged,
it's a done deal.
Somehow, yeah, it's like you're not supposed to be a beginner. And that's a dangerous mindset, I think.
It really is. You're right. And I think that you want to grow, but do you really want to grow? You're having that inner conversation.
You can't bypass the beginning, and furthermore, the beginning is the foundation. And if you skip over the beginning, if you disconnect from the beginning, if you shortcut the beginning, it robs you of the sweetness of every other stage of your relationship with that, whatever that is, that person, that hobby, that skill. I mean, if everyone were to take a second right now to think about something that they enjoy right now, something that's comfortable to them, and think back to the beginning of that, you know, maybe you're finding there's some sweetness to that, and the awkwardness of it and the discomfort of it. And maybe you can even laugh at something ridiculous that was a part of that. So if we skip that or we avoid that, then we're robbing our future selves of the opportunity to really enjoy that start.
Do you think some of it comes also to a place, I know we've, already mentioned, there's a lot of feelings that come up, like it's too vulnerable, or this feels awkward, or I'm insecure about this, I'm not good enough for it. Do you think some of it also comes to a place of like, I feel like I might fail at it, so it's a fear of failure too?
Yes, especially if you think failure is a bad thing. I subscribe to the belief that failure is important on a regular basis. And it's a really powerful tool for learning and evolving and growing. If you're afraid of failure, ashamed to fail, concerned about judgment from yourself or others, then yes, that's another reason you're going to avoid beginning. Because when you begin something, there's no guarantee of the outcome of that. Mm-hmm. And if you had particularly shaming parents that said things like, well, what's wrong with you? I told you once how to do it. You know better than that. That kind of stuff, then that may, influence your relationship to beginnings and what you're willing to risk.
A lot of people have come from a place of past of bringing that childhood experience with them. So they're not used to beginning. They're not used to putting themselves in situations where they're going to have to begin something. They actually avoid those like the plague sometimes.
Yes, especially in middle age. I mean, I know when I think about my life, if I wanted to, not so much as a business owner, but in other areas, if I wanted to, I could really insulate myself from being a beginner in a lot of other areas of my life, and continue to choose comfort. But what that does over time is that narrows possibility, because that means nothing new can come in my life unless I already have some well-established relationship with it. I can't let anything new into my life. And over time, I mean, think about that narrowing process. That's going to take on a head of steam. And, 10 or 15 years down the road, that's a pretty small life.
Is it better as we try to become better at this and open ourselves to beginnings and new beginnings and being, is it better to maybe start giving yourself a pep talk, especially here at the beginning of the year where it's such a fresh time, to say, you know what I want to be is a beginner. I want to be that, not just in January, not but I want to find several places this year where I can begin something, maybe looking for those opportunities.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I am in love with that intention. I want everybody who's listening to consider making that an intention for this year, to be a beginner. And in mindfulness, that's an attitude to cultivate. It's called beginner's mind. And it's about not being an expert in a situation, in an experience, because when we're an expert, it narrows our scope. When we're a beginner, we're more naturally open to unexpected things, to not knowing, and that can change everything. So I think, yes, setting an intention about beginning, and then I also think normalizing with ourselves and with the people that we know that beginnings are supposed to be awkward. Mm-hmm. That's what they're supposed to be. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with the experience. It's not a statement about your capability or your worth that you're awkward or stumbling or uncertain. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's powerful, because I think young people especially can get in a situation where they stay sometimes in a comfort zone, and that sets them up for already not wanting to go into a new situation, and so it's really important that those of us who are a little bit older can say, look, I'm learning too. I'm in new
I don't know.
Too.
Yes. And it's supposed to feel this way. And this is the good stuff about it feeling this way, is you take yourself less seriously and you're less concerned with outcome and with judgment when you can really get in the stream of that. In an effort to not get too comfortable, I begin new things every year. And a few years ago, one of the things that I picked was stand-up paddleboarding. So I took a 4-hour, what I thought was going to be a group class. It turned out I got to have a 4-hour private lesson with this great instructor. It was awesome. And one of the best things he did was he kept making me fall off the board. He kept saying, okay, fall off. Okay, do this. And he would instruct me to do things with my paddle that would throw me off balance and I'd fall off. And the more I fell off and got myself back on the board and figured all that out and realized nothing bad happened to me. Everybody was okay. And I was actually learning. Then I relaxed so much more into the experience. And that's, for me, as a visual person, that's what I think about with beginnings. I think we have to just get comfortable with the falling.
Mm-hmm. I can think of so many scenarios very similar to that. Years ago, I started painting, and I thought to myself, I am not going to be good at this.
See, that sentence right there, I think, is what many people say to themselves from the beginning of something.
Mm-hmm. And it sets you up.
Yes, it does.
And then you have to climb up out of that because it sets you up. And I realized through that process to stop saying that actually to myself at the beginning of something, because what I have taken from the experience of learning to paint and finding what feels good to me and what looks good to me, and all of a sudden I started noticing I've taken those skills that I'm learning in that new experience and I'm using it in other areas to become more mindful and more aware.
Yes.
I'm seeing the way, I'm taking a moment and seeing the way the trees look in the actual sky. I'm taking a moment to see the way the night sky colors up against a sunset and the way the clouds run across that. And I'm taking moments and realizing things that I never did before I started that new experience.
Yes.
Powerful stuff.
Yes. And what I heard in what you said is that dialogue that you had with yourself at the start of I'm not going to be good at this is outcome oriented. Mm-hmm. Then once you turned away from that, moved away from that, you joined with the process and opened up to possibility. That's exactly why this is so important, because if people are so outcome focused, if people are so focused on arriving wherever that is, you miss actually all the sweetness of which is the whole point. The whole point for you is to develop that new relationship with the sky, with light, with the trees, with the contrast of that, and how to illustrate that in whatever you're creating. It's not about what does that mean about me. It's about I want to do this because this is cool.
Right. And you're right. I mean, how do we make that shift from not coming at every new beginning with that outcome based thought process?
Here's what I wonder. I wonder if it doesn't start with reevaluating kind of this cultural message of you're allowed to learn when you're a child, and then when you become adult, whatever you learned is locked in and you ride that out. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we call in my business a fixed mindset, and a growth mindset is more dynamic. It's more open. It understands that there is no arrival. There is no arrival. And from an integrative mental health approach, that's one of the benefits I think yoga provides really strongly, because no matter what I feel like I accomplish in my own yoga practice, at that moment of arrival, it's actually more about understanding how much more there is to learn in that pose, in that sequence, in that balance. It's not at all really about the arrival. It's about the arrival opens up more depth and possibility. So that's what I think. The more we open up to that as our experience here as human beings, then we can, lean towards beginning instead of avoiding it.
I think too, maybe we should reevaluate the phrases that we say to ourselves. Like, I remember just a small scenario in the house and something, a mechanical problem went wrong, and there was something that happened. And my first thought was, I don't know how to do that. So I'm not I don't know how to do that is the phrase I wanted to reevaluate. So I thought to myself, wait, I actually haven't tried to learn how to do it. Why don't I start there?
Yes, because that's such an interesting point, because I wonder if when people say, I don't know how to do that, that somehow is getting translated in their mind to, I can't know how to do that.
Exactly.
Instead of, I need to learn, or I'm going to be open to learning. It's an automatic can't because I don't.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I shut myself down actually in a lot of scenarios in the past by saying, I don't know how to do that. So I stopped there and I didn't go any further. Now I'm saying, I don't know how to do that yet. I've rearranged my wording for that particular phrase for myself. So maybe we reevaluate some of those phrases.
That reframing is really great because it opens up possibility. Mm-hmm. And then you get to ask yourself, do I want to learn? If yes, why? If not, why? Mm-hmm. To figure out if that's something that's authentically important to you or something that you really just don't want to invest your time in because you want to invest your time in something else more.
The new beginning, the beginning process, can we teach ourselves how to be better at beginning things? I think some of it maybe is obviously reevaluating, what we're saying to ourselves and making it feel better. I remember when I was learning the very first time I was playing racquetball. I was playing by myself.
I'm supremely horrid.
Me too.
At racquetball.
Still, but I love doing it.
It's fun. It's fun.
I wish, and I'm and there likely is video of me somewhere doing it. I don't know.
We ought to do a podcast.
We
with
should
us both playing
just playing racquetball. Integration on the racquetball court, and I remember the first few times I'm in there.
Yes,
I hit myself with that ball. I think more than.
Yes.
But looking back on that, I actually get a lot of joy out of.
Yeah.
I get a lot of joy out of that process and thinking about how I feel afterwards and so I keep going back and doing it and because I'm actually just liking it.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not point wise great at it or
I hear innocence in that and that's the important thing is, why am I doing this? And if there's joy attached to it, that's something that I think is worthwhile to invest a lot of time, effort, and energy in. Absolutely. And if you had decided that because you're not great at racquetball, you couldn't do it, you'd be robbing yourself of all that joy because what whoever's listening can't see is how the delight in your eyes when you're talking about that, the smile on your face, that's the whole point. So I think that when we start there, that matters. And I think that when we reframe what stumbling in the process means, that's another important piece. Because let's say we're trying something and we're trying it and then it's going well and we're having fun and then something happens that's uncomfortable or doesn't feel good in the development of our relationship with that thing. That's another point where people will derail the process. They'll say, nope,
I'm out.
Should have known.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to be good. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
If people can begin to then say, okay, actually, this is a part of it. This is okay. I can take a breath. I can get my bearings and I can try again, then that opens people up to get past that really critical plateau period, that first big setback. If you get through the initial beginning, then the next phase is the first big setback. And if you can get through that, then chances are you're going to stick with it.
And you're right, because a lot of the times we view failure as a bad thing. And really how I've started looking at failure is very similar to what you said at the beginning. It really is actually really directional for me. And
yes.
it actually is. I sort of view myself as that scientist, in the lab that has
Yes.
tried this combination. Well, that didn't work. Okay, tried this combination now. Well, that didn't work. Well, I know I can't use this and this now. I'm going to try this other thing and this other thing. It's almost like that to me. I'm like, oh, see, I'm actually getting there.
Yes.
I'm getting there if I keep trying different things.
Yes, and what you said in that I think is really key is that you're not attaching to it. You're a part of the process and you're engaged in the process, but you're not attaching your identity to any outcome in that process. And I think that's really key. The thing that has really helped me get this is my relationship with running. I'm not a natural runner. In running still, I'm a decade into it. And more often than not, before I run, it seems like a bad idea to run. And when I start to run, it feels like a very bad idea.
You're questioning your choices.
Yes. And my body is. However, at some point during almost every run, that shifts. And in the runs that it doesn't, in the runs that it feels uncomfortable emotionally, mentally, physically the whole time, my gear's messed up, some part of my gear that I'm using, the weather's really awful in some way, I've got some kind of physical sensation I can't let go of, all of it, when I see that through, oh my gosh, that has such a wide ripple effect in my life about what is possible. Because
it's a life lesson right there.
It is. And, when I was training for a marathon, it was every run that I did that was over 13 miles, because I'd run some half marathons by then. Every run that I had done that was over 13 miles was a new beginning. So every other week I was beginning again. And so it really shifted my relationship to limited mindsets and, what's possible and how my dialogue really impacts my energy and what I'm gonna see as possible for me. And that I can change that at any time. Just because I'm doubting something doesn't mean I have to lock in with that doubt. I can turn that around.
That's powerful stuff. And I think too, it's a lot of people, we were talking about feeling very awkward going into a new beginning and very vulnerable. A lot of people have a lot of deep anxiety even around beginnings. How do you start to unpack that when you're really, really scared to start something new? Because maybe we're talking about something really, really big, like a new business at 52. You're, think I'm too old for that, or finishing my education, or getting a different degree, and I'm 40. I can't go back to school, and maybe you've got a lot of anxiety around something really big like that. I'm going in a different direction. I'm doing a second marriage, or I'm joining a family, or I'm blending a family, or whatever the case may be. Some people have a lot of problems and real struggles around those big things.
Yes, they certainly do. I see it, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis in here. And I think that a good tool to use for that is what we talk about when we talk about sitting down on a bench with a cherished friend and having a conversation. So when we do that with ourselves, it can loosen some of that stuckness up. When we say, okay, why can't I do this? What am I afraid of? Okay, I'm afraid of looking stupid. I'm afraid of making a mistake. I'm afraid of hurting someone. When we can get specific about the can'ts involved, then we can address them, one by one. Okay, well, what makes me think I'm going to hurt someone? This, and this. And then, having that supportive relationship with ourselves helps us kind of neutralize some of that really polarized energy around can't, shouldn't, not allowed thinking that we have.
Even though beginnings are scary, the practice of doing it more often will make it easier.
Will make it easier, and it will kind of keep us linked into that stream of growth is the norm, not lock into a comfortable place and try and ride that out. Because growth by definition is uncomfortable. We can all relate to growing pains, in our childhood. And, that's the same whether we're growing emotionally, whether we're developing a new skill, whether we're learning a new language, whether we're starting a new relationship. And, I think another piece of that is that if we open up to our past mistakes, our past failures, our opportunities to develop wisdom.
Yes.
I don't think we connect those dots often enough. Mistakes can lead to wisdom if we integrate the learning. I really want to say that again. If we integrate the learning from a failure and from our mistakes, that's the alchemy to create wisdom. And who doesn't want wisdom?
Yes.
I want wisdom.
I want wisdom.
Do you want wisdom?
Especially on the racquetball court.
Yes. I need some extra padding on the racquetball court. I'm going to settle for some extra padding because I can get some serious bruises.
But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. What a great way, actually, to think, with the integrative team here. You could have a double beginning. Maybe you've never done yoga. Maybe you've never dealt with a situation where you've said, I want to figure out what this meditation thing is all about. Maybe you have, gone through that thought process and you said, you know what? I want to try that.
Yes.
And what a great time of year to take advantage of that while you're beginning that one thing, that new yoga or that new meditation, or you're trying aromatherapy for the first time. Maybe you're also realizing this is going to help you in a new beginning somewhere else in your life.
Yes.
So double beginnings.
Yes. And then you can piggyback the learning in that one beginning onto other beginnings and stack them up like that. And then that's what does shift our relationship to this kind of stagnant situation to a more dynamic approach to life, because nothing stays the same. It just doesn't. And so with that means that there are beginnings all the time. We're beginning a new day. We're beginning a new conversation. We're beginning a new book or TV show. There are beginnings everywhere. And that's another way to take a small step towards some of these scarier beginnings, is to start to recognize the everyday, ordinary beginnings that you are a part of and connect to those a little more deeply, because that's a baby step towards a bigger beginning. And I think that that's maybe the broadest way for people to begin to reshape their relationship with beginnings is to realize that there's not one right way to begin. Taking a step towards in a way that seems manageable and uniquely suited to you is good enough and will get you there.
We're looking forward to a lot of wonderful things in the new year here.
Yes.
So many cool things.
So many podcasts aplenty about all things related to integrative health. Our 12-week food mood group that I'm beyond excited about, because the more people can become educated about how the food they eat and the way they eat the food choices they make impacts their mood, the more they can become empowered to energize themselves and balance their moods in a way that is productive for them. So we have that. We have new yoga workshops. We have more mindfulness and meditation. We, of course, have massage available and aromatherapy massages, which if you haven't had one yet, you need to try. And of course, our regular monthly aromatherapy workshops with all kinds of great new topics to include energy, sleep, emotional wellness, all kinds of good stuff.
you are out and about in so many places, putting the word out and talking about how an integrative practice can be extremely beneficial, and you're doing great things. And it's, I think the ripple effect from that, people are hearing about it. What a great way to maybe share this podcast with someone and send the link to someone who could use this. This is a great way for you to show your kindness and to care for someone else, is to share the link of this podcast, and they can get to it right on the website.
I could not agree more. And then on our website, you can see how to subscribe for free to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play, whatever is most compatible with the device that you use. Because to begin to develop a more encompassing understanding of what integrative mental health is a way to increase your joy and freedom in your life. And that's something I'm really passionate about. I want people to understand how accessible that is to all of us.
Here's to new beginnings.
Here's to new beginnings.
We hear it all the time. You are what you eat. Garbage in, garbage out. Our mental health and our physical health is deeply interconnected. Our gut is our second brain. Our gut even contains neurotransmitters like our brain does. Would you like to truly gain insight into this relationship you have with food? With our 12-week Food Mood group, you can find out what the real impact is with food and your mood and your energy levels. I mean, how much freedom could you feel with understanding how to break food addictions? Learn the food myths and facts, and once and for all, learn not to fear fats. Our integrative team at Allison Sullivan and Associates can help you right where you are. With the 12-week Food Mood group, you can learn to develop support and strategies to reach your food goals, to find that true connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit. Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. Sign up for the newsletter or call 540-907-0991. 540-907-0991 and ask about the 12-week Food Mood group. A healthy gut likely means a pretty healthy mind.